What if the sun disappeared right now, while it still blazed above Earth in complete silence? In just 8 minutes, our planet would stop being the world we recognize today. And the most terrifying part is this. At first, nobody on Earth would notice anything, because sunlight does not travel instantly. It still needs time to cross the emptiness of space. That light takes about 8 minutes and 20 seconds to finally reach our planet. So for a few minutes, every street, park, and neighborhood would still look completely normal. Birds would still fly overhead, cars would still move, and people would still laugh outside. No alarm would sound from the sky. No warning message would arrive before the darkness. Only scientists might suspect something first when observatories suddenly stop seeing the sun. Their instruments would go dark and the solar image would vanish from every screen. At first, they might call it a malfunction, a glitch, or some impossible technical failure. But outside those observatories, daily life would continue like nothing had changed at all. Then the final sunlight would arrive, and the invisible countdown would reach its end. In one instant, daylight would disappear from the half of Earth facing the sun. This would not resemble sunset, because sunset fades slowly and colors the horizon gently. It would feel more like reality itself had been switched off in the middle of noon. The blue sky would collapse into black, even though the clocks still said daytime. And above shocked cities, stars and planets would suddenly appear where daylight used to be. People would think of eclipses, war, or the end of the world itself. But this would be worse than an eclipse because there would be nothing left to block. The sun would not dim or hide behind shadow. It would simply be gone. At that same moment, Earth would also lose the sun's gravity and its orbit. Our planet would stop circling and begin flying straight forward into deep space. There would be no violent impact, only a silent and terrifying change in direction. And this would be only the beginning of the catastrophe, not the worst part. At first, the air would not instantly freeze, even under that impossible black noon sky. The oceans and atmosphere would still be holding huge amounts of heat from the sun. But across the planet, temperatures would begin falling as the warmth slowly faded away. The first real shock would be psychological. Midnight darkness arriving in the middle of noon. Whole cities would suddenly look like nighttime, with lamps, screens, and headlights turning on. Emergency networks would be overwhelmed almost immediately by confusion, fear, and desperate questions. Social media would explode with panic as videos of black daytime skies spread everywhere. Nobody would agree on the cause because the event would seem completely impossible to explain. Some people would think it was war, watching the dark skyline with rising terror. Others would believe it was the end of the world, standing silently at their windows. Power demand would surge as billions of lights switched on at nearly the same moment. Some regions would hold power for a while others would fail almost immediately. Traffic accidents would begin within minutes as roads fell into sudden unnatural darkness. Pilots would report a black daytime sky that should not exist above the clouds. Then the deeper problem would begin, far beyond panic, rumors, or the first shock. Photosynthesis would stop immediately, and Earth's food chains would begin counting down. Solar panels would become useless at once, no matter how many were built worldwide. Food production would become a survival issue, not just an economic or agricultural problem. For the first few hours, many people would still hope the sun might somehow return. But with every hour of darkness, the truth would become harder to deny. By the end of the first day, the planet would already feel much colder. Not frozen solid yet, but cold enough to make heat, fuel, and shelter essential. Governments would race to protect electricity, food supplies, transport, and public order simultaneously. Humanity would realize this was not a temporary emergency, but a permanent turning point. Earth would no longer be a sunlit world. It would become a dark planet drifting alone.